With me is Dr. Tom Lenz. He's a professor in the School of Pharmacy and Health Professions who recently conducted a study that is helping Creighton prove its point. All is well. Hello.
Hello, Joyce.
Tell me about the study.
Well, a couple of years ago, the Department of Pharmacy Practice and Human Resources got together, and I'm not sure who approached who at the beginning, but it was, the discussion went something like this. We can do a lot with wellness here at Creighton that we're not doing already. We're doing a lot of good things, but I think we can do better. And so we decided to put together a program that not a lot of other companies were doing, and it essentially centered around not just wellness and health promotion, but looking at the chronic conditions that cost our company money and our employees, a significant number of employees would have these conditions, and to work with those so that they don't progress and get worse and develop into further issues like heart disease. We looked at what other companies were doing first, and actually initially we looked at hiring some other companies to come in and do it. And you know, after a couple of months we said that's crazy because we've got the resources right here to do it ourselves, and we would rather do it ourselves so we can do it the way we think it should be done. So we started putting together a program, and last August in 2008 we started a pilot program for this. And initially how we did this was look at cardiovascular disease as the chronic condition that affects Creighton employees the most. And that was
how
just
did we
based
know
off of
that?
data. We looked at data that we had. We looked at the number of prescriptions that were filled from Creighton employees. We looked at some of the health risk appraisal data that we capture now. And it indicated that cardiovascular disease is our #1 condition that affects most of our employees, as it is for the country and Nebraskans. So we're not unlike any other state or the United States population as a whole. It's cardiovascular disease that affects most
What are some cardiovascular diseases?
Well, we're really talking about heart attacks,
Attacks?
stroke, for the most part.
And what are the conditions that cause those primarily?
Yes, for the most part it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and then diabetes and obesity, but also decreased physical activity and poor nutrition, high stress level, low sleep. Those are the major risk factors that can lead to cardiovascular disease. And so that's how we centered our program. We looked at the things that affect cardiovascular disease the most, took that one step backwards and said, let's work on the risk factors so then we can affect the end result of decreasing cardiovascular disease.
How did you find the participants of your study?
Well, that was very easy, actually. We sent out an email to all employees. It's just one email last June 2008, just describing the program and what we were going to do. And in about a 3-day time period, I had 135 emails from folks that said that they were interested in it. So basically what I did was screen all those people, talk to them about their interest, and looked to see if they were eligible. And then picked 15 people from there, just out of a hat, for those who qualified.
And what did those people do then in the course of this 1 year?
How the program works is it consists of about 13 meetings with me, and all of the meetings are individual. There are two main real caveats of the program. One is that all of the appointments are individual, and that's because this is all about behavior change to affect cardiovascular disease, and behavior change is so individual for each person that you have to meet with them one-on-one. You can't just talk to them as a group and say this is what you should be doing, because this is different for every person. So I met with each of them about 13 times over about the 1 year time period, more frequently at the beginning of the year and then less frequently as they go on. The other real hallmark of the program is that there's no end date. I always tell them there's a start date, but there's no end date. You can be in the program as long as you want. So it's not a 3-month program or a 6-month weight loss program or even a year program. It's a forever program, and that's something that Creighton is committed to these folks, to their overall health and well-being for the long term. As long as they're Creighton employees, they can be in the program. And
so they basically watch their weight. Do they take medications?
Yeah. So what happens is there are a couple things that they do while they're in the program to be able to stay in the program. One is they have to take their medications as they're supposed to, and Creighton pays for that. So they pay for their medications for blood pressure and cholesterol, and that's who was in the pilot program, those who had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So as long as they take their medication the way they're supposed to, as long as they make their appointments with me and see me on a regular basis as they're supposed to, or reschedule. And then they keep a log, they keep a lifestyle journal of their activities. As long
What
as they do,
eat, how much they exercise.
Yes, and the physical activity journal or the lifestyle journal logs their physical activity, what they eat, if they're taking their medications, what their stress level is, all of those types of things. And so if they do those things, then they retain the benefits of being in the program.
What did you find out?
Sure. What we do is try to figure out what their risk is for having a heart attack or having a stroke, or in general having a cardiovascular event, which includes a heart attack, stroke, heart failure, many different conditions. So we can predict what that is based off their risk factors. And over the 1-year time period, we were able to decrease their risk for having a heart attack about 47%.
Oh my.
And decrease their risk for having any cardiovascular event about 34%. But the really neat thing about it is you can predict what the age of their heart is. And of course, over the 1-year time period, the folks got 1 year older, but their predicted heart age got 3 years younger. And when we started the program, the group as a whole, their predicted heart age was older than their actual age. But then within that 1-year time period, that reversed, and so now their heart age is less than their actual age. So we're very happy about that. And we also measure quality of life as a major piece of it, and that data has been able to show that that's an improvement in their quality of life as well.
Well, when we come back, we're going to visit with one of the clients in Dr. Lenz's study to see if his heart really is younger than it used to be. Dr. Lenz and I have been joined by one of the subjects of the study that Dr. Lenz conducted, J.R. Jasso, and we're going to ask him the really tough questions. Why did you start this study? What was going on in your life that told you you needed a wake-up call?
Well, I think one of the main reasons I got into the study is because when I went to my own doctor, Dr. Saxena, a Creighton physician, he would do, whatever illness I'd go in for, he'd do a couple of tests on me, and he would come back and he would always say the same thing. He would say, I scared him. And I said, well, what do you mean I scared you? He says, you're going to have a heart attack. And I thought, wow, I'm going to have a heart attack. He says, these are the things that are wrong with you. He says, one of the problems you have is your really high cholesterol. And I had heard the numbers, but I really never knew what they meant. And apparently mine were off the charts. And so then I, took a good hard look at this, and then Dr. Lenz came along with this study, and I was fortunate enough to get into it, and through his guidance, I was able to really make the numbers go down quite drastically with my cholesterol, and it's because of Dr. Lenz and his study that, as he'll probably be able to tell you, and I think he did, is that now my heart is a little bit younger than what it was or what it could have been, and it could have taken me down a really bad track to possibly dying.
I think one of the most important things that came from the study when we did the pilot was that we enrolled 15 folks, and we were hoping that 10 would finish. I'm happy to report that all 15 finished the program, and all 15 want to continue on the program. And I think that says a lot for them in their commitment to their own health and wellness.
One of the really easy things was to stay on the medication every day. I mean, it seems like when I turned 40 years old, that's when I got my pill box. I had never, prior to that time, I had never been ill with anything. I had a cold and things like that, like everybody else, but I had never had one of these things that you had to worry that would take your life. And so when I turned 40, I got my pill box, and that's when I had to, change my lifestyle. That, the things I had been doing for all those years were basically killing me. Mm-hmm. And once again, through the guidance of Dr. Lenz and his study, I was able to figure out what it was. He helped me get through it, and so now I'm doing a lot better. And I think this study is a really great thing for the university, because what's going to happen is when he helps you in the beginning, it's going to save the university in the long run, because they're not going to have to pay for a heart surgery or anything like that. So,
or to retrain another employee.
Or to retrain another employee, something like that.
And the insurance costs, again, a good corporate responsibility.
It's a great thing.
What was the hardest thing?
The hardest thing, I would probably say, was meeting with Dr. Lenz and saying I slipped a little bit. Because when I went in to see him, I always wanted to do a really good job, not for myself, but for him too. Because he took the time to find this study to make me healthier. And, when I'd go in there, sometimes I'd say, well, Dr. Lenz, I kind of slipped doing this or that. And he would always, when I'd come out of that meeting, he'd say, well, just stay on this track, continue to do it. And he says things will be better, and they have gotten that way. And so hopefully with my heart being younger, I'll be around a lot longer.
We hope so, because you've got a great heart.